Where did you grow up?
I grew up on a farm in north central Illinois, the oldest of 5 children,
Okay. Near what town?
near Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Yes,
Okay.
south of Rockford.
South of Rockford.
Hmm.
What was your family like?
Well, my parents were both from farm backgrounds.
Okay.
And my mom had been a teacher for a few years before she and my dad got married. But then she became a full-time raiser of children and homemaker, and my dad continued farming.
Okay. What kind of farming did your dad do?
He mainly did grain farming, corn, soybeans, oats, hay, and he had a few animals. I remember once he had sheep and they got very sick because of some sort of infection, and I think he lost a lot of money on that, and he
Oh.
never invested in sheep again.
Oh dear. Was your family more of a nuclear family or was it more of an extended family?
Well, I grew up in the 40s and 50s and early 60s, and at that time, our family lived almost, within, I'd say 5 miles, 5 square miles of each other.
Okay.
And so we played together a lot with my cousins. I have a whole bunch of cousins on both sides of my family, and we would have holidays together at grandparents' homes and visit all the time, and so it was very much a close extended family, and I'm still very close to a lot of my cousins.
Oh, neat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What schools did you go to near Ottawa?
Well, I went to Catholic schools. Marquette High School was where I graduated, and I had the Sisters of Mercy for 12 years as my teachers in grade and high school, and then I came to Edgewood College. Kind of on a fluke, because a girl in the class ahead of me was coming to school here. Her name was Charlotte Lakin, and her mom and my mom got talking to each other at a high school event, and her mom said, well, why don't you take Maureen up to see Edgewood with some of her friends, because Charlotte just loves it there. This is my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And we came here, and 2 of us just loved it, and we decided to come here to college.
Wow. Okay. When you were young, and this you could interpret young in many ways, what were your intellectual interests, or whose thought influenced you?
Well, I don't think I was aware of particular teachers or writers so much. I mean, Jesus Christ definitely influenced me, and saints that I know about.
Okay. Or
because
in
of my,
college.
Upbringing. Well, in college, and through high school, always I loved to read.
Okay.
And at home, I used to read and reread again and again books like Little Women, Little Men, Louisa May Alcott.
Right.
And then in high school, I liked the challenge of Shakespeare, and in college, I remember having British writers and Chaucer and Shakespeare and all those good things. So I really loved English. That was my favorite topic,
Okay.
and that's what I ended up getting my undergrad degree in.
I was going to ask. So you were an English major then?
English major and Latin minor.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Okay.
So the classics are very important to me, mythology, all that stuff.
Huh. What classical writers did you like?
Oh, well, I was just thinking of translating St. Augustine's City of God and
Really?
from Latin to
How-
English.
And when did you do that?
In college, I took classes from Sister Barbara Bianca, and I loved Shakespeare. Took classes from Sister Clemente Davlin, especially, and I loved Dickens and a variety of classical writers. I guess.
Wow, neat.
Mhm.
Why did you enter the Dominican order?
Well, I think my basic answer would be because God called me to this vocation.
Okay.
And I really see it as a gift that kind of persisted through my life, even from very early on.
I was going to ask, were you very young when you first had these inklings?
Yes, because in fact, I think most little Catholic girls, maybe I'm making too much of a generalization here, but in the late 40s, 50s, 60s, we looked up to our teachers, and especially the sisters, so much. And so a lot of us had that aspiration, when we were from second grade on. I can remember thinking I was going to be a teacher and a sister of
Really?
mercy, a sister of mercy though, because those are the sisters I had.
Okay.
And then, you know, you go back and forth with things that happen in junior high and high school and falling in love and, you know, thinking you're going to be the best mother and wife in the world. And then, but the vocation to religious life just was always with me in the background, at least.
Did you have any members of your family who were in religious life?
Some of the generation ahead of my dad. Remember, my dad had a couple of aunts who were Sisters of Mercy.
Okay. Oh, how old were you when you entered the Dominican order?
I was 18, but within about 8 days of turning 19, in September of 1962.
Okay, so you were in college then, right?
I had 1 year of college here at Edgewood, right?
And where did this event take place? Where
did I enter the community? Yes. At Cincinnati.
At Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, but before you came to Edgewood, what were you doing? Were you a teacher or?
Before I came here to work?
Yes.
Yes. So I didn't come to Edgewood till 1988.
Okay.
And before that, I had been a teacher at the elementary and secondary level for 11 years in various parts of the Midwest. And then I began teaching high school in Wausau, Newman, and then went out to Cheyenne to teach in...
as in Wyoming?
As in Wyoming.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And then while I was there in Wyoming, I decided to apply for a job in campus ministry, just because it kind of fell into my lap, you know, that I learned about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I don't know anything about campus ministry, but I'm just ready after 11 years to try something different. And I interviewed for this job, and I got hired for it, which absolutely amazed me, because I didn't know anything about campus ministry, but I learned quickly from the priest that hired me, who was a real pro at it. He was very much of an extrovert, and so I'm quite introverted. I was a lot more introverted then than I am now, and he would just draw me out to go over to campus.
Who was that?
His name was Bill Genola.
Okay.
And he was a diocesan priest from Wyoming.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Perhaps we could go back to when you were going to school at Edgewood. What was Edgewood like in the 60s when you got here?
Well, it was very small still.
Okay.
And in the 60s, when I was a freshman, I think it was something like 600 or 700 students. That was it.
Really?
Yes. And Regina Hall had been built maybe 4 years before I came here. I think it was built in 1957, and about 100 women lived there. And
Okay.
then the rest of the students were commuter students. Well, Marshall Hall was here too.
Okay.
So probably 120 or 30 students lived on campus. The rest were commuters.
Okay.
And it was very much a family atmosphere. It was almost all Cincinnati Dominicans. Sister Nona McGreal was the president.
Uh-huh.
She had really started the 4-year institution of the college. And I remember, I think there were 4 lay teachers that were hired by Sister Nona, whom I had as teachers: Joe Schmidtke in education, Jewel Fitzgerald in theater, Jim Guilfoyle in philosophy, and Mike Leibarger. I never had Mike as the teacher, but so it was, very insulated. Although I remember we had special events, going to dances down at the UW,
Okay.
at frat houses and stuff.
Right.
And when our dates would come in, they would come into Regina Hall, and one of the sisters who lived there would meet them.
Really?
So, because she was the house mother, yes.
Okay. Interesting. What year did you graduate from Edgewood in college?
Well, it took me a long time because I went out to teach before I even got my undergrad degree. So I had 1 year of college before I entered and 1 year after I entered. And then in 1965, I guess it was, I started to teach. And I came back during the summers to finish my degree. Okay. So it took me until, I think it was 1968.
Okay.
To get my undergrad degree.
Were there many protests against the Vietnam War during that period at Edgewood?
You know, there was a lot going on while I was, but after I had entered the community.
Okay.
And so, like when I was a freshman, 61 to 62, not at all.
Right.
And that was before the Vatican Council started.
Right.
And so all these huge changes that happened in the mid 60s really didn't affect me at all. In fact, I've said, kind of jokingly, I'm learning about stuff that happened in the 60s when I was in my late teens and 20s that I had no idea was happening in the world, because we were very limited in our media access, for one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and so I didn't realize what was going on.
Wow.
But from what I've read, there was a lot going on in Madison
Yes.
at that time, and Sister Cecilia Carey was the president after Sister Nona, and she had a lot to do with things related to the late 60s, the Vietnam protests and all of that.
Okay. When you joined the Dominican Order when you were in college, where were you living then? Like, were you living at in the convent?
Well, when I joined the community, I went to Cincinnati,
Okay.
and I was there for 2 years.
All right.
And then when I came back to Edgewood as a student sister, as we were called then, I lived in Sacred Heart Convent, which we can see from our window right here. If you were to look across the parking lot toward Marshall Hall,
Mm-hmm.
it was a big old brick building that housed about 100 sisters
Okay.
at that time, and that's where I lived along with 99 others. And then the building was raised though in around 69, I think.
Okay. Was that building built after the original villa burned down? Do you know?
I think it must have been. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay. Do you have any Edgewood stories you'd like to share?
Yes, a couple come to mind. I remember a tiny woman named Sister Catherine Corden who taught philosophy at Edgewood. And she was quiet and soft-spoken, but she was very principled, very strong, especially for peace
Mm-hmm.
and for her work with international students. She had a great heart for international students. And I remember in 1961, when the Iraq War began, that a lot of people on campus were very stirred up and upset about that. And we had a big meeting on campus, and Sister Catherine stood up and very strongly urged the college to take a stand against war.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the administration was not into doing that because they felt that they could not speak for the whole college community, which is true. But I just always admired her for that and for many other times when she spoke out so strongly for justice. And the other thing I think of is when Jim Eben came to the college as president, and I think that would have been in 85 or 86, a couple years before I came. I was told that he was walking across campus one day, and Sister Stevie, Marie Stephen Regis, and Sister Annie Schoudnecker, who were best of friends, were walking across the campus, and they came across Jim. They met each other, the three of them, and they were talking, and Jim asked them, I don't know, this might have been the second time he had talked to them, he asked them if he could call them Stevie and Annie, because he had heard so many other people calling them that. And they said, well, yes, but only if we can call you Jimmy.
Oh, funny. And did they?
I think so, from then on.
Oh dear. Oh, funny. All right. Let's bring up to the contemporary era. What are you doing currently?
I am doing spiritual guidance ministry with individuals
Okay.
here in our home. I meet with about 15 persons on a regular basis for spiritual guidance, and I do adult spiritual growth work through Wisdom's Well
Okay.
with 2 other women, and I do some volunteering, like doing apheresis, blood donation, and taking my turn with the Road Home, which is a transitional housing program,
Okay.
and just helping out. And also, I guess you'd say I volunteer for quite a few things related to our community, and especially our associate programs.
Okay. What is your vision for the Edgewood College of the future?
Well, I would really be happy if I could see no more concrete going down on that campus.
Uh-huh.
No more trees being uprooted, nor grass being covered over. I know that's not going to happen though, because actually, since we talked, I learned from a neighbor about the master plan of what's in the future for Edgewood, and it sounds like way too many buildings
Wow.
for the space, for the 55 acres that are here. But if a building were to be built, I would like to see it especially house a music performance space, because that I think has been a great need for the college
Okay.
for a long time. I think other things I'd like to see happen would be definitely just dealings with all employees and students. That's an ideal for us to work for, I think. And appropriate growth and diversity among the faculty and staff. I think there have been good strides made in that regard, but I think we could do more. And especially after students of color have been attracted to our campus, I would like to see them have as much support as possible when they get here from faculty, staff, and other students. And I hope that is happening more.
Okay. Of the 5 core values of Edgewood, which one speaks to you the most?
Well, I would say justice, the striving for justice, has been really a guiding value in my life, starting with my parents. You know,
Okay.
I saw them working for justice, and I think it's connected integrally to the value of truth, seeking truth. So that if we are working for justice, I think truth is going to be the result of that.
Okay. Lastly, what wisdom would you like to impart?
Just in general, you mean, about life?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I thought of in relation to Edgewood is that I would like to see every single student, during their experience here, have a really significant connection with a faculty or staff person that they look to as a guiding light,
Mm-hmm.
as a mentor, and that they feel such a connection to that they would want to keep in touch with that person or persons
Mm-hmm.
after they graduate from here. And that they also have enough experiences that engage them and engage their best selves, that they want to live lives of justice and service and truth-seeking for the rest of their lives. And I think this can be done in very simple, down-to-earth ways. I don't think we need any huge programs or a lot of money to accomplish it or any of that. We just need real human contact with each other.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.